that you keep all the notes.
I'm good and organized like that with numbers and all that. Like my office today, there's trees in the back you can't really see, but
Nice office. I have this
yeah.
paper.
Yeah. So how was the call that you just did or the live?
Oh, it was good. It was interesting. Yeah. We just talked. I found this meditation that was really interesting. I'll send you a link. But they said they couldn't hear it. It was about Superman and this a Taoism perspective about the winter solstice. And,
Okay.
but, thinking about Age of Aquarius. But he talked about the Superman, the superpower, how he would take coal and squeeze it to turn it into a diamond. And I was saying that, I put that for a reason to say that we need to listen to everything, to get what resonates with us, and then to examine or explore what doesn't resonate with us, why it doesn't resonate with us, so we can really, make an observative,
Right.
hypothesis, you could say. So that
Yeah.
was quite interesting because, he said that Jupiter is the creation and Saturn is the implementation, which aligns with the fire of Jupiter and the earth of Saturn. And if the earth is the coal, that's the supersede, the superstar
Right.
powers got our upgrade with that energy.
Yeah.
To really transform, the situation. We have the earth, the Capricorn energy, and that we're honoring, 3 days ago, a year ago, or 2 days ago, a year ago, was the Corona solar eclipse that brought in the
Right. The
coronavirus when we
26th.
started.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so this was, part of that energy where we started, also connecting all the dots with the corona, coming through and stuff like that. So it was, quite interesting to know that the winter solstice, that this happened on the winter solstice, and it is a time from winter solstice to spring that
Right.
we people shouldn't be focused just on one day. We need to keep the pressure on, keep the energy of all the information from the corona last year, and moving through this energy where Jupiter was also at 7 degrees last, of I think it was Sagittarius as well.
Yeah.
And that this year that Sagittarius at home is like piling up the fire to, break the coal down, to transform, to be the alchemist,
Right.
and now we have the work to do, but to be grateful that we went through this year, seeing 2020, because we're gonna need it.
Yes. Yes. And that's good realization that it was in the winter, in the darkness, when it came out, the coronavirus with and
He
now we
did
just
talk
went
about
through
that too. Yeah,
and we just went
darkness.
through a portal of eclipses and coming to the dark and the whole alignment and the winter solstice. And I think we're also planting the seeds, but to come out on the other side, right, to like
Yeah,
become healthy
yeah.
and get a handle of the situation and stuff. Interesting that you say Superman, because Wonder Woman 84 just came out on Christmas Day and I watched it. Really good. You can watch it, download it, HBO, something or what, online, right? And but I like one of the aspects that they talk is everything that we talk with the wake, how so it was 1984, that's what the year.
Mhm.
And there's something big about 1984. I bought a book too by somebody, I can't remember. 19 is called 1984. I have downloaded,
You
I
mean
haven't
George
listened to it yet.
Orwell, not
Yeah,
another thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so I have
why
the
did
book.
they call Wonder Woman 1984?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know, something in that year flipped or something. But it was interesting that the guy, the one bad guy or whatever, it was a citrine stone that gave you power, the wishes. But then one of the things that was interesting, the U.S. government was creating all these satellites spying and to send broadcast signals, the TV and everything, to feed to the masses, kind of what everything that like Chris talks about, and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like I said, the programming,
Unbelievable.
everything is in the air and stuff like that. And that's how they got the message of course, to do evil, but then also to reverse it to like, uh, be careful what you wish for, because what are you willing to give up and stuff like that. So everybody, like, they wish for things, but then they realize how it affected other people, and there's like, I take it back, I just, so it was really interesting, like the correlation. And I wanna like say, listen to the book 1984. There's something there, and then I was looking,
Yeah.
numbers and everything. 1984, it was a year 4 as well, like 2020.
Right. Okay. Yes.
I was 8 years old, 1984. So, and now
Also
I'm
before.
44, is another 8, so I'm like, numbers and stuff, and 8 is infinity. So it's just kind of like, all right, I'm something will come up and align, like connecting the dots. So yeah, that's interesting how you say Superman, and I'm like, oh well, Wonder Woman too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of reflecting our own superpowers, because it's in plain sight, and it's all like, this Simon Says, and giving the power away, but
Yeah.
it has to be, so it's up to the people to realize the superpower within
And
themselves.
everything about her is like, what gives the power to the stone and everything is speaking the truth, speaking your truth. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I'm
Ah,
like, yeah. So that reflects on how the government and all the media and everything not speaking any truths, right?
mhm,
And how, yeah, how like, so that kind of reminds us, like, yes, speak your truth. And so that's awesome. But yeah, so many things happening. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's also good to know that people are looking up, because, like, did you see people are sending me so many pictures of starships and stuff like that? If they weren't looking up, they wouldn't see them.
Yeah, if they were watching TV, I mean, me, I'm always out in nature. Yesterday the clouds were awesome, and the moon and everything, and I
Yeah,
went up
beautiful
there. So
pictures.
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, always looking up and out, up and out, and then also,
Yeah.
like, kind of like Chris says, I zoom out and then I zoom into what's in front of me and things like that too. But you have to get out, and that's what I was like. I was staying at my cousin. I was telling my son we got out every day because they're like just indoors. And I said, people are getting sick because they're just breathing their own damn air hot from the heat air. They don't get vitamin D, the sun, get out there and breathe fresh air during the day. It's like, gosh, it's like, you have to, like I said, like I was telling, my cousin, it's like, you're a house plant. Just get water and sun and more, like, and some air, it's like,
But the sun is really strong now. It's really powerful. I mean, maybe one of the reasons they want us in the house is because there's some codes in the sun, because I felt it from the 19th to the 20th, before the solar. And I feel it
yes.
every time. Like, I can sun gaze into a high sun. Have you
Same thing.
found
We
the
were
difference?
we were we were in San Luis Obispo because I was there for like the whole week, like Merchant Mermaid and stuff. It was so hot. It was hot, ridiculous. It was 80 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at nighttime it was like 40s and it was cold, but during the day, during the break that we had in the Merchant Mermaid around lunch, I got outside and I was on a tank top and I was hot. It was like, and even we walked with my son and the reflection of the sun on the window, and it was bouncing back to us. I'm like, oh my God, that was burning me. It was weird. It was
It's
really
different. It's a
hot.
different sun.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I have to look, I've been, all these things on Mayans too, but some of the indigenous peoples have said they're starting to pray to the west because they say it's going to flip. Like we're talking, everything's going to flip. And they said the sun is going to be starting to rise on the west. So, the flipping of the poles, the flipping of the sun or
What,
rotation.
they're flipping
So,
cool.
something like that, I'm like, interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it had been super potent. I was like, oh my God. It's like, and then I would like be sweating, opening the windows. And then as soon like 3 o'clock when it started to go down, it was like super cold. It was just
Mhm.
like, yeah, but it was nice. We were
Yeah, because
outside on
you
the,
notice that it's the sun that's bringing the heat.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's
yeah,
an extra like potent sun. That's like
super.
what from 80 to 40, that's pretty.
it is drastic. And that's what I was saying with my son. It's like, it's weird because, uh during the summer, it could be 80 degrees, but then as soon as the sun goes down, it stays warm because the
Yeah.
air stays. But right now it's just like boom, it's just like flipping the switch.
Yeah.
It's like it's like, what's going on? Yeah.
So, yes. So, take us through how, like, I'm curious, like, take us through, first I did your sky, and you have so many different perspectives that you explore in self-development and stuff like that. And also, the Mayan calendar and also other astrologies. Was Skystrology the first time that you had that connection with 0 degrees?
Yes, definitely. And like I said, a year ago, we started on the web over here. I came across you because of Jilly on,
Yeah, yeah.
Water Priestess. She was posting about that. And then I think
You're getting
you
ready for
had a,
Hawaii for the retreat.
yes,
And then I did
yes.
a special and you were like,
And it was actually a lot of the numbers too. She was doing posting about the wake, about it was first it was 1221, then 1231. It was the three and the numbers, and one of those you were present, and Skystrology. And you mentioned Egypt. You had me at Egypt because I'm always been fascinated.
you
I've
were in
always been,
the WhatsApp group. Remember?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
all
yes.
of that, all of that. So I started like following you. I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's kind of what yeah, I reached out to you. And then I love the part that I'm like, okay, let me see what is, like you say, things that resonate or something that catches my attention, I'll go for it. And then if I resonate with it, I'll take what resonates with me and continue with it if it's making me grow and be more aware of my growth and spiritual journey. And so when you send me the first initial videos, that what it is about, the one that you're singing and the whole alphabet and everything, I love that is astronomy. And you mentioned that the farmers and they're looking up at the skies to follow the seasons and what it is. And that's my background, growing in
Yeah,
Spain in a farm. My dad will always like go outside and tell me there's stars, if there's stars or if it's clear, or
yeah.
you know and I was like, so I was excited about that because he
That
knew
was
what
the
he was.
connection. Yeah. So we could go
Yeah,
all the way back to your roots and
right. And
everything.
I love,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that part of, and also like, we grew everything at home, and we did our grew our own animals too for food, and it was all seasonal. We had the times depending on the weather, on the stars. And actually a lot of the stuff, like for the animals, they to kill them to make meat, it was in the
My
winter,
mom
in the winter
too.
solstice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The rhythm to that. Mm-hmm.
Right, there is. But yeah, in the summertime, it was always like, okay. And then he will teach me to, like, all right, if the sunset looks really bright red, tomorrow's going to be really hot, or just little things like
So
that.
yeah,
And
how old were you when you
uh,
remembered like being
when I
aware?
started remember this, about 8 years old or so.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I remember that. And,
Magic
like I
8.
say, seasonal too. Every season had different things that we picked. Like the fall, what was one of my favorites, because we would pick mushrooms and then a lot of nuts like chestnuts in the forest and things like that. And yeah, but when you mentioned that astronomy and the farmers, and that just kind of gets me back to like how the ancient civilizations live, right? Like part of me, the Mayan and the Aztecs, that's the greatest achievements through
Mm.
navigating through the skies. And I didn't know anything about 0 degrees. That was the first time I heard anything. And then as you did my chart, which I was like, okay, it's like different than the traditional Western astrology, right? That
Mhm.
on the Western, I'm a Taurus, and with the Skystrology is Satu's Aries.
Mhm.
But I still have a lot of Taurus too with
Yeah.
Skystrology, like my moon and stuff. I'm like, okay, I see, kind of works together as well. It's kind of like that. And but being aware of the other constellations to look at, or what star systems are in my chart, like the Pleiades, and we have that connection, that we always like.
Mhm.
Even my car is a Subaru, and Subaru means Pleiades in Japanese.
So you're always uncoding all the connections, like you're the connector, because I don't have 0 degrees. Jilly doesn't have 0 degrees. Elizabeth doesn't have 0 degrees.
Right.
But, like when we're in this group, like this collective, you hear it, like what do you say? Because even in the groups you're in, like Teresa's like absorbs these things and then she just
I'm weaving. I'm the weaver. I'm the weaver. I'm
the
like the
weaver
spider. Yeah, Spider Woman weaving the web, putting all the dots,
dropped
connecting them.
together.
So,
Yeah. So
so
it's
I
been
didn't know. I
amazing.
didn't know the 0 degrees what it meant, and then when you did my chart, I was like, oh, okay, I understand now. And I've been having all these, like I mentioned, most of the downloads that I have is always when I'm alone out in nature, or reading something, or like all of a sudden I'm reading something, and then boom, like I start, like my brain starts going back to like these it starts connecting things.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I understood. I'm like, okay. And then we started experimenting how to go about it when the 0 degrees come out. And sometimes at the beginning it was kind of like, I was like, all right, I created expectations. Which is a no, right? And I remember, I think I was still in Texas, and I was going to Houston, and you were like, oh, give me that. And I'm like driving, and I'm like waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's giving me a little bit of like too much.
Yeah.
And then kind of like when we talking, like let go. This is just like the awareness of the time, and just
Yeah.
be in the flow and the experience. And then when you're not expecting it, that's when it comes, right?
Yeah. So that's when I start to let up and tell you after it happened a few times.
Yeah.
I knew, because just your MO is like to know the schedule. And it is important, because we are the observers, in the quantum physics. So when we are, present and waiting and observing, we are affecting the outcome. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
it's good to know. And because you were having so many drops, so which was great, because you had so many downloads and you were keeping notes. I said, like, when did that happen? When did that
I
happen?
know.
Go back and tell me, that I could go back and see, what degree it was. So that was great.
Yeah.
But,
So that was like the awareness of the 0 degree, what it meant. And um yeah, so in the potency of the 2020, 2020 vision is a year 4, and so many fours for me this year, turned 44, and all these connections, and but at the beginning that was like, January, February, March, and then when the coronavirus hit, and we were like deep into the awareness and consciousness of water, and going so much into it too. And then when I had the huge download about while I was in the hot
tell
tub,
us,
in it was in color no
where were you?
Arkansas,
Yeah.
and in hot springs. I was at the spa,
Yeah.
having my
In
own bath and
water.
stuff. And it was just the beginning. And I grew up in Spain, and I have my sister in Spain. And the week before, my other sister was going to travel there, and they canceled. My sister in Spain said, you know what, it's just really bad, don't come. And then I was like, so Spain and Italy were like really hit. I'm like, that's so weird. It started in China. What does Spain and Italy have to do with it? It's not that they even travel so much between them. I'm like, what's going on, right? And then when I was in the water, I was just thinking about that. And then and part of what came about that is that I'm studying with my teacher on Aztec cosmology. And it's becoming a time of all these things are coming back to the surface, the things that the Spanish suppressed with the in conquest and all of that, all the native things are coming back up. And I was like, 2020, I'm like, oh my God, Spain, like I say, I'm half and half. So I represent both the conqueror and the
Yeah.
conquered,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then I was like 1492. That was like, you know, I was looking at the years and stuff, like, so it makes it 528, and 528, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
528.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I looked at the hertz. I don't know it right now, can't look it up, but the 528 frequency is healing, and and stuff like that. I was like, this is you know, the old ways are coming back. This is like karma for
Yeah,
Spain
the
and Italy,
drop's
because
coming.
Columbus was from Italy with money from the Spanish crown, corona,
Hello.
you know, all these
Yeah.
things. It's like this is their karma that they're getting for what they did to the Americas, you know. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God. I was like, you know, and I shared that with Jilly, and you know, because everything was coming, the
Yeah,
corona,
it's
what does
coming.
corona mean? And it
Yeah.
says Latin Spanish word is like the crown. So it
Mhm.
was, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder, you know. And like I said, this is the resurface or the rebirth, because when Cortez finally, oh, where the Aztecs finally gave up to the Spanish, they
Mm.
say it's like, okay, we'll put our tradition, we'll take it underground, but it'll resurface in 500 years, which is happening next year, because that happened the fall of the
Wow.
Aztecs. It was in 1519.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when Guatemala finally was defeated. And so, yeah, it's happening now. 500 years later, it's all coming back to the surface. You know, the indigenous ways are coming out to the to do the healing. You know, to do the healing for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. And so, yeah, that was like huge. I was like, oh my
I
gosh.
remember
So
when that happened, I was like jaw drop, and Julie was like, we were like, oh, I'm like, this makes so much sense, right?
yeah,
So
because I was like,
much sense.
it was bugging me. I was like, Spain and Italy and China, what? It's like that makes no sense, you know. So
Mhm.
so yeah, you couldn't just connecting those dots,
And it
and
was
that's the
also like lateral, wasn't it? It was like across a particular latitude as well, wasn't it?
right. Yeah. So but I was like, okay. So that was one of the big ones at the beginning, that it was like, okay, that's, and that just like I said, came, I was in the water. So you know,
I
like,
know, yeah, as well. And the hot springs are amazing.
yeah, it was a hot springs, natural water, you know, that has so much information, and just kind of like, you know, be in the flow, and it just came, and it was just like boom boom boom. I'm like, oh my God, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of the like big ones at the beginning, that I'm like, all right, it's like, yeah. And then of course, like, to be aware of how many 0 degrees there are throughout the month, or the, you know, I had other ones as well, you know. But and it'll be funny, sometimes you'll be like texting me, what are you doing now? Oh, what happened right now? I'm like, why, what? I'm doing this, you know, like the connect. I was like, this is what just happened, you know. It would be so like on point. Like, I was like, okay, are you like watching me or something?
That's, yeah, that's a good with the consciously aligning, because we needed time. What's great about our relationship is that it's gone on for a long amount of time, that you get in, like, you can you can be more discerning about other, like, oh, the full moon is there, because you are in the rhythm, like you have your own rhythm, like we all have our own rhythm, and your moon is a 0 degrees.
Yeah,
And so being part of that, awareness for yourself, taking your power back from the narrative, really kind of mere moving with your own rhythm,
right. Yeah,
you were moving, and in the middle of like change, moving from one place to another, from Texas, and still like your moon rituals, and just keeping
my
that
God.
rhythm with yourself. And
Yeah.
getting your water as well was around. I was like there before, or during the time you got your water as well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was in January, February when I got it too, and yeah, and so that was like a portal of opening of all these things aligning, right? Something that I kind of knew within myself, but I didn't have a label for it, right? I just, oh,
Mhm.
I'm getting these downloads when, mostly when I'm in nature, like I say, in the redwoods in Yosemite, and all these things. And now it's like, okay, I have somebody who understands what's happening, and who gets it, you know. And somebody I can share with, you know, because it's not just like, okay, I have this download. It's like it connects back to not only mine but others,
Yeah,
like I said. Yeah, so it's like it's kind of hard to explain to somebody who's like not awake, or they'll look at me like, what are you talking about, you know.
Mhm.
It's like it's just like a thread that I am connecting. And like I say, I'll have my own, but sometimes if I listen to live from you with Elizabeth or Jilly, I'm like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
Like, oh my
yeah,
God, I'm getting
boom,
something
and
else
it
out
comes
of that too.
together. Yeah. You
Oh,
know, that's funny because I was telling in the live we have that where is it? So yours is Aries. So Carl Sagan has Uranus at 0 degrees Aries, and Stephen Hawkins has Mars at 0 degrees Aries,
I
and
have
you
Chiron,
have your
Chiron and Moon,
Chiron at 0 degrees Aries, and the moon in Taurus,
Taurus. Yeah.
right? So that was how we made the connection that um you were having the 0 degrees in nature. And then you were
Mm-hmm.
also having, the connection because Chiron is the key,
Yes. The
the
wounded
healer
healer.
key, yeah, but the key that solves the problem, the missing link,
Yeah.
because you're
Right.
getting these drops and then you hear, and then like, I got the key to open the portal to
Right.
understanding
To
everything.
unlock the portal. Come on
Unlock
over.
the information to let it come together, because
Right.
we like, especially because there's so much. So that was the key. And because Stephen Hawking's and Carl Sagan were scientists,
Yeah.
and they were lots of times scientists, they discover things at the same time, because they are tapping into the things, or they studying things, all the information around, they are collecting, not everything is coming from them. They're collecting bits. And then the
Right.
one who puts the key, to
Yeah.
understand like all the information, because this is a really important thing,
Yeah.
to like you say, your MO is just to be a listener and to be a thinker, and really connecting to the groundedness, because a lot of times a lot of people are cerebral, they're like just in their heads, but they don't be able to ground it. And so it's appreciating all the elements, because you have the moon, which is water, in Taurus, which is the earth,
Yeah.
and then you have Chiron, which is connected to a fucus, right?
Yes.
And that's the
Awesome.
fire and the water, and that's powerful in the Aries 0 degrees. So it's aligning with the fire there of Aries. And so literally we have, and also you have like Orion ascendant. So you got
Right.
like, all, and the Satyrs. So really and so much. But yeah, just to keep with the the 0 degrees is that, we have this Chiron, which is bringing in the water and the fire. And then we have the Taurus, which is the moon at 0 degrees Taurus, which is bringing the water and the earth. And this is where the water is producing. This is the space where the water actually makes something,
Right.
bring something into making, because it is a focus is the key. Like Leo and Cancer, they're water and fire, but they like struggle together,
Okay.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're just being, the sun and the moon,
Right.
they are not going to mix together. They are going to be separate, right?
Opposites.
So
Yeah.
they have to keep their space, but yeah, but the reason we have a focus is because we have that space in between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And in
Yeah.
that is the fifth element, what Jilly calls ether,
Either. Yeah.
but that's where it's a whole new energy bringing, take not canceling out the water, not canceling out the fire, and using that plasma, even like how Jilly explains it, really, bringing it into fruition, something that we can
Right.
use, and, like a medicine, like a healer, and with the Chiron. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, you're the weaver. Like that's what I
Yeah.
know. The weaver is connected to healing, the one who takes all the information, takes all the threads, and
Right.
makes it into something, that
Yeah.
people can use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And speaking of the of Fucus and all of that, the last right here that we just passed the season of Fucus, I had the also the download of the numbers 4. Remember, I told you everything. It's been a year 4 of Fucus is the 13th sign. That's a 4. I
Cool.
turned 44. All these 4s are happening, and the 4 stages of water right now is the
Right.
plasma,
Yeah.
but we're moving to the 5th element, and we're going to a year 5. And So everything, and 4 seasons for everything. And in the Aztec cosmology, 4 is the sacred number because it's a number of movement, of creation. Everything in creation happens in movement, in force, like everything, the solstice, equinox, the seasons, even the times of the day, you have divided by 4. But so we're going to the 5th element, and the 5th is always been like unseen, right?
Yeah,
It's like the occult,
yeah.
the dark,
Like
and
the 13th,
that's
yeah.
exactly like the feminine. The 13th is always being turned into something negative when it's it's or pushing it away, so it cannot be dealt with. But that's what hit us in the face right now, right? I'm like, no, this is what you need to, also the underworld, the darkness, all that stuff that you have to go in your spiritual journey to overcome and see the light and become, go around the cycle and just come out another turn on the spiral coming out.
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah,
but
it is, turning, like, what they were saying, that Maya calendar. there's a joke about it being dyslexic, but
I know, right? Yeah.
but
That's funny, right?
1220 was also 1220 plus 8. Did you
Was
hear
that
that? The 1220, when everybody's waiting for 2012, but it
right?
was actually somehow
Yeah.
with the Mayan plus 8, which was the new
Yes.
2020.
Well, the 2012 was the portal, another portal to open it. And actually, my Aztec teacher, what is saying, because we birth in, right, like age of Aquarius,
Crowning. We're
the
crowning.
sixth sun, all of these. But that's what it is. The 2012, it was the beginning, and you have 9 years, like the birthing, like the pregnancy process
Oh,
of
okay.
creating a new world. So 2021 will be like really moving into it. So
Yeah.
we see now the 8th year, 2020, is really like all the growing pains, all the going into labor, like
Yes.
painful time, a lot of things coming
The
up in
crowning
2020.
of the crowning, the corona, the crown.
There you
Crowning.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The crowning is the 7th chakra, and then the 8 above, the 8, the
Yes.
infinity, the higher realms, to connect to.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have a choice to connect to the higher realms, right? That's why we're being upgraded.
Exactly. So that's what the 2020 vision, water vision, has done. Like either you see it or you don't, period,
Yeah.
and,
True.
and if it resonates with you, you'll evolve, you go on to creating the new world that is happening, or or you don't. So but 2020 has been really the awakening year for a lot of truths, like how we saying, just to mostly to the truth and your own truth, right? And but it's great to have like you and your guidance with everything that, like I said, things that are coming to me, because before it was very lonely, right? I'm like writing in my journals, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna do these, but then I'm like, it's like I need to share these with somebody, right? And then having you, our monthly calls, on the moon and everything, is just brings a deeper level of going into things, like how many water holes we've gone down. Well, even the
Some
other
very
one too.
personal ones, but yeah, connecting to the reincarnation, and really, the childhood is so important, and
Yes.
the womb, the first environment, the first experience, and just connecting that all together to feel whole. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about doing the 0 degree group is to give people that confidence, because it does, when the times, that it's 0 degrees, and connecting, I do, like, did you see that video, that little boy whose mother's moving who's turning on the fireplace, and he's going abracadabra, and he's going like this to the fireplace, but the mother in the background is pushing the remote control.
Right.
So he's like, oh, I have superpowers. And he's like, I did that? And she's like, I have super, and then he started to do cartwheels because it's the confidence, the affirmation, that, Oh, I think I can, like believe there's no spoon, it's all a mind game. And so we're, this year, because that's why it's so clear why, in a way, the powers that be, like, stay inside, like, where we need to be out, like the energy is so high. So,
Right, right,
they know there's a special energy in this year. There's like nothing can stop this energy. So that's
right.
why it's like a perfect year to see clearly, to look up, to connect with what's happening, to the divinity, to divine, that nothing can stop that, you know?
Right. And to know this inner knowing, kind of like you asked me, like, and I had other people ask me, like, how do you know? I just know. I'm like, I can't, I don't know. It's like, what do you need a source? I'm the source. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like everybody gets so hang up. It's like, what do you get that from? Where do you hear that? Oh, is that fact check? I'm like, I just know it. My
Mhm.
soul knows it,
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
and that's
Yeah.
how it comes, where the downloads on, the 0 degrees, like, I just I just know it,
I
it's like,
like to call it the knowing.
yeah. And I
The
even had one time I had an ex-boyfriend, he was telling me something, or he was trying to tell me something, and I'm like, I know. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. It's like, he looks at me, I was like, I I don't know. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. I don't know. I just connected the dots before you even finish, before you're stuck telling me what you're trying to say, and I was like, I just know, it was like, he was all freaked out, like, what? so sometimes you just get these little glimpses
mm,
of
mm,
light,
mm.
and it's just like, all right, I see it. And the other thing that for me works as well, and I've been told this by several indigenous men, in the Mayan calendar, they have different elements. Mine is the owl. So that's the gift of seeing what others can't see, and seeing
Ah.
in the night. So that's why I see the weaving part of me. I see what
Mhm.
others can't see. And I think the zero, I have two zeros,
Yeah.
you know,
It's so
like the
crazy.
owl
That's so
eyes,
amazing.
that I can see into things
Mhm.
in a deeper way.
Mhm.
And actually, when Ophiuchus was happening, I think it was when the lunar eclipse started. That was the time of the owl for 13 days,
All
like I
right. Yeah,
mentioned.
you
And I
told
was
me
like,
that.
so it was right there in
So am
the
I.
portal,
Mhm.
and now then we mentioned that I have my moon in 0 degrees also in the Aztec and Mayan cosmology, and most of them, the moon is about the dream time,
Okay.
things that you see in the dark in your dreams. And remember how I'm doing like dream interpretations and things, that objects or guides that I have. So in the Mexican tradition is big to work with the moon and the dream time, because you create your life in the dream time. Aboriginals from Australia to have a lot of dream time. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of your life happens in the dream time. So having the moon 0 degrees, it helps with that. And that's why I'm such a night owl too. A lot my best things also happen in the dark at night, when I'm like, just like, quiet. I have a quietness. I
Mhm.
don't have the 3D world so present in front of me, and I
Mhm.
have that
Mhm.
connection to the dark, which a
Mhm.
lot of people are just afraid of. The dark, in
Mhm.
either way, either symbolically or metaphorically.
Mhm.
But it's like afraid of like digging deep in the dark. That also means, that's where we spend the first 9 months of our life, in the
Yeah.
dark. And
Mhm.
but actually, it's interesting now. It just dawned on me how we say, oh, I was in the dark about that, meaning they didn't know about it. But being in the dark for me is like, I know about it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
It's
the
like a
opposite. I'm
portal.
flipping things. It's like, I actually, being in the dark, I can see better.
Yeah, but the dark is the birth of the stars, the black hole.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. But I'm
all the
saying, how.
information, the presence of everything is in the dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So exactly. So yeah, that I have that relationship, and but yeah, it works for me. And so yeah, and but yeah, having you and others witness, it gives me more empower is very empowering, right?
Your
Like you say.
confidence,
And
because you've been knowing this all your life, because this is a birth, this is a gift. right? So
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
have these ideas, these ideas coming when you're very young or when you're older, but how could you know what they were? Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they didn't get that support when you were younger, just kind of like, oh, how did I know that? And you would be dismissive, right? Yeah.
Very much
Or
so, by
dismissive
my own
definitely if
dad.
you told anybody.
Yeah, by my own ears, like, you're weird, like, like.
Yeah, exactly. This is so many people have that experience. So it's so good now to kind of catch up. But like everything else, the veil is opening, and
Mhm.
it's still there. A lot of things that we had, was kind of,
Yeah, and a lot of it too, like,
disappeared.
like either like things that we don't remember from, like you mentioned, looking into our time in the womb. My mom's been she passed away 25 years ago, so I can't ask her these questions, but I'm having from things that you have told me about my chart, like the emotions that she was, a lot. We feel everything that our mom when she was
Exactly.
pregnant and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I have these things, like I remember I told your mom, maybe I was made in Mexico. I saw a picture of my parents in front of the pyramid of the sun and the moon in Mexico, where I've been in the
Mhm.
pyramid. So look, I have the moon in 0 degrees. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the time of conception is also very
Oh
important to
yeah.
your chart,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that will be fast. So I was gonna go to Spain this summer to look at those pictures, but coronavirus didn't let me do that. So we'll see. But that'll be interesting to dig into it. And the other thing I came across, remember, like earlier this month, about that I was born a day after a solar eclipse
Yes. And
in
then
1970.
also, mm,
And so it was a portal. So the portal's opening between eclipses. So that year, April 29th, 1976, a solar eclipse. I was born on the 30th. And then the lunar eclipse, it was May 13th, the lunar eclipse. And that's where I have my moon.
yep. And because your 0 degrees are close together, it's from Aries into Taurus,
But
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
So
like that
that's
bookends, that portal,
right.
that space
So
between
yeah,
them.
my two 0 degrees are in that portal right there. So that's something to like keep looking into. Like, for example, the kids that were born in this portal, right, in these important times, like that'll be so interesting to watch and do their charts and how illuminated they are and coming with
Yeah.
all these,
Yeah. But
but
we're
yeah,
also
that
talking about how your stuff flows, because in a way you've got the space between the 0 degrees of Aries into the 0 degrees of Taurus, right?
right,
And so
right,
we know, because we were looking at that in the call today, because, how much is the Aries connected, but we know it could be connected to ancient knowledge, because the Aries was the first observation that was made, written down for, modern man to share. That's
right,
why we have Aries is the first house, and that's the archetype of the studies in the age of Aries. But we know 17,000 years ago that peoples in all around the world, but the one that we have proof in south of France 17,000 years ago, they had the Taurus, the bull.
yeah, in the
And
shoulder
so,
they had the Pleiades.
yes,
Remember the article that
yeah,
sent you?
exactly. That's it.
They
Yeah,
had
the
the
Pleiades, they have the little Pleiades stars, and they have the bull. So they were
right,
watching that. And I just got a chill because, that was the age of Taurus, right? So you have
right,
the age of Taurus, you have the age of
yeah,
Aries,
yeah,
and now the age of Pisces, because this Max Lohan, who was 14 years old when he built a free energy
mm,
machine in his basement, and he loves Nikola Tesla. He has the moon at 0 degrees of Pisces.
mm,
And so, interesting, maybe it's collecting, it's because you're the weaver,
right, right,
right? Of
and
and you, when you did that thing with the past colonism of Spain, it was
and
always this historic information you
and
bring in as
speaking of
well.
the caves on the south of France too, that's the area where I grew up, in north of Spain, south of France, and I known about that because
Oh my God.
there's other caves around there too, that they have similar things. So I was born here in the U.S., but I went there at age 5, from 5 to 16. So
Mhm.
I think that's why my passion for nature, the natural world, trees, and everything growing in a farm, but that area has, and even Lourdes has the waters of the sacred waters is like an hour something from my house in Spain, Lourdes,
Mhm.
France,
Yeah,
the
Lord friend.
the sacred waters, and all, there's a lot
It's
of
an hour from
energy.
your house. Hour.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So there's all that energy there too, kind of like I said, I was weaving or pulling from, or like coming to me, it wasn't in my space, in my field. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Taurus, I grew up with cows. Cows were my best
Yeah, they're
friend.
your friends. You were telling me.
And guess what? My favorite cow, the one that let me sit on front, it was cow number 4. Like I'm telling you, the
Yeah,
4
you
is just like,
told me. Yeah. I mean, so many thoughts that we get to connect by, catching up often. I remember that. Because,
yeah,
yeah, we're like, just supporting things that, aren't terrestrial from, the inception. We see the representation, but the inspiration or the connectiveness of the what that means in a higher spiritual plane, really bringing
right,
new ideas, like scientists, like the people with 0 degrees, looking at these things, these drops, and then bringing a philosophy or a theory about what it really means on a bigger scale, connected to spirituality,
right,
karma of something, the connection of, what happened before and how that has a karma connection, the connection with numerology, all these
mm,
kind of hidden sciences,
right,
that are really have, are part of an occult knowledge. Like I said to Jilly, water is a part of occult knowledge.
right.
They all these things that are so special that are in plain sight, but that have been, hidden. Don't look there. Look
They've
here.
been they've been hidden and also manipulated and
Oh
twisted
yeah.
it to make it look bad, right?
Mhm.
So people
Yeah,
stay
like
away
that.
from it out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are like the ones like, no, that's where I gotta go. That's where the information is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And isn't interesting because with the Pleiades star, I think because you were saying, oh, I didn't tell you that yet, so I'll tell you now. Because I had heard, because I like to hear things, and I don't know, but maybe you put this together for me. So I had heard that there was the stars of Pleiades, and there's one that you can't see all the time.
Right.
Right? Heard
Yeah.
that. So I was on a call, and sometimes when I'm on a call, 0 degrees, you get these like things.
Yeah.
And I was talking about that, and I said, somebody one time in Egypt, there was this woman, she belonged to the Israelites, and I was in the supermarket, and I was telling her about, Skystrology, astrology. She said, yeah, but I don't believe that. Where is the earth then? She said, what constellation, what sign is the earth? And I was like, I don't know.
Good question.
Good question. So I was thinking, okay, the Pleiades is in Taurus, the earth, Taurus is the earth, the nature element. And I said, but how would that be? How would that work? And boom, it came to me. It was a 0 degree call. There was a 0 degree. I was like, oh, I've got a call during a 0 degree. And what if from Mars or from somewhere else, when, yeah.
You look at the earth, we are in the Pleiades. Yeah. Yeah. I had that
And
too.
our
Yeah.
sun is that disappearing sun, one of the stars of Pleiades.
Maybe we cannot see the 7th one because we are the 7th one.
Hello.
Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think, because yes, it's all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course they're looking, and they're like, oh, like you see exoplanet here, exoplanet there, and this nebula, oh, they got exoplanet, and then like over there they've got the Pleiades star system in what it might not even be Taurus, because it's just those stars, right? But that's home, that's the nature,
Yeah.
that's
And
art.
actually, now that you mentioned that, like with my teacher, my Aztec teacher, we just had for the winter solstice, the return of the sun, we just had an amazing also like meditation and stuff. But he did mention that too for the Mexicans and Mayans. Everything's about Venus and the Pleiades. That's home. That's where we come from. You
Hello,
know.
that's what they
And
said.
yeah, and look at it just hit on me too. I know this, but you're talking about 0 degrees. Who discovered the number 0? The Mayans. They're the ones who came up with it. So it's like, oh, ting, ting, ting. Things are just
Yeah.
connecting 0. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I really, that is because, I mean, like we have to look in plain sight because actually part of the shape of most of the shape is 0. When you think about
right.
all the glyphs, the
Yes.
Venus has a
Yeah.
0 at the top, the Taurus has a 0, the Mars, all the personal energies have 0.
And then the rings of Saturn stuff, there's,
Yeah,
elliptical, like
and the
0 and
sun
everything.
has a
Yeah.
0. All these, 0 is, when I did the research about Nefertiti and the Egyptians, like it's called beautiful because
Mm.
there's, the Venus, because I thought of that when you said Venus, about the beauty. And the beauty is when things are in harmony, when things are balanced.
Yes. Yes. And we are here to create beauty. We're
Yeah.
here. That's creation, beauty,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, Venus, and I have my Venus too strong in Taurus. I want to say, I'll have to double check that, but I have a lot in Taurus and Aries right there. Like
Mm-mm.
when you look at my chart, everything is like boom right there, like in the
Yeah,
same.
everything's like kind of cuddled up together. Yeah, but the main thing is also because you have these integrated. What I like to talk about is the integrated, the 3 extra constellations that I honor. It's not just about 13th degree
Right.
sign, and you have very strong Satus energy, and
Yes.
these other constellations are able to not to have this brighter lens, to bring in more elements, to work, to be the alchemist, to work with more than one view. Because
Right.
when you're just in one constellation, oh, that's only Aries, that's only fire. But here, Orion, you inspired me to be more Orion because you said to go get her. You doing that? She said, as soon as I do the house, I'm going to jump in the car. I got everything. I'm gonna do this, I gotta do this, boom, boom, boom. And I thought, yeah. And it's Orion, I always say, this Taurus, because Orion is between Taurus and Gemini, and
Yeah.
really using the brain, the thinking capacity to change the earth, that symbol, the circle, the Gemini has a curve. It's not a numeral 2. It's a curve.
Right.
It's the sun, like the heavens, and the bottom curve is the earth. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
what happened? Oh, you still there?
Sorry.
Okay.
It
So,
was a
yeah.
yeah.
So this is, a place where there's intel, air, and manifestation. And
Yes.
the 2 polars are the humanity, or the rainbow bridge, making that connection between, the higher intel and what it means for us here on earth. And
Yeah.
that's your soul mission, that is your soul mission, your Orion, which is the first house, you know. And I think,
Right.
like, I didn't think I had Orion. I hadn't decided Orion was a thing when I did your sky. It was when, like, one new moon. And I think when I was moving or something, it was mid-May, around May
Right.
time, that I thought, no, I have to put. And I had you redid your chart as well because
Yeah.
you didn't have that. Yeah, so it was really, mind blowing for me to kind of, in plain sight, Orion is one of the most highly recognized constellations in the sky.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And it doesn't even look like constellation, it looks like starships, like it's so perfect. And how, where
Yeah.
in Mexico that they have the 3 pyramids as well?
Oh well,
Or is it
in the
what?
Yucatan area, the Mayan pyramids. Yeah, I don't know which one is which, but they do have that. Yeah, and
Yeah,
also, like most of the indigenous tribes, they have that. Is like as above, so below. That's how they build their things.
right.
Depending on the skies they are at. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they have that. And so that is aligned, with, honoring that space. And, I'm just thinking because in what I found with the 0 degree, with the Nefer, is the space between the building of the pyramids at the top above
Mm.
level and
Yeah.
below level, because there's always a below level.
Right.
And the
Right.
middle, the flat the architecture term when they were building the 0 degree, ground zero.
Ooh, yeah. Ha ha ha.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, as above, so below. The pyramids, they go below
Mhm.
too as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
what
look at
about that
2020 has 2 zeros.
as well? And what about when we found out that the solar eclipse was at the end of the world? Tell us about that.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God! Like the solar eclipse that just happened. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it went the path of it in Chile, no,
Mhm,
Argentina,
mhm,
Ushuaia, and
mhm.
then Ushuaia means the end of no, the end of the world, the beginning of everything.
Everything.
Remember that was like I was like, oh my
But you
God.
were talking about the 2021, and how this is
Yeah.
the 9 years, and for that to be because the other solar return was the corona starting the
Yeah.
transformation, and now we've got
It's
2021.
telling
Did you talk
you.
about?
Can't make this up, and we didn't make this up. Look up what Ushuaia means. And I don't even know, it's not even a Spanish word. Ushuaia is from the natives over there. It's not a Spanish word. So it means the end of the world, the beginning of everything. So that's what we are. That's what the solar
Yeah,
eclipse.
that's so powerful. And the
Oh,
other thing that I thought was amazing, that off that coast, they
Tierra de Fuego, land of fire.
Yeah, the land of fire, but also on the water, it's that they study
Mhm.
satology, because the male whales, a lot
Right.
of the whales are there doing that, and they call it the end of the world because it's the last city before
Right.
Antarctica, right?
Yeah,
Which is,
exactly.
it can be interesting about Antarctica because we don't know what's there.
Do we?
I mean, we
Do
don't
we?
know. I ain't seen
I don't.
nothing. I would like be like, we're gonna see clearly. But I mean, just to bring that in, it's funny because some guy a year ago said, "Oh, something about Antarctica is going to come up," because he would
Yeah.
was researching how much stuff is researched, like an algorithm with what is in people's mind. All the data collected, what people
Yeah.
are talking about, and he was like, Antarctica is going to be a thing. Maybe with
Yeah.
this pole shifting, because a lot of stuff is melting.
Yeah. We'll get to see maybe, you
I
know.
hope so.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, all these things that have aligned, the messages are right in front of us, like
Yeah.
you said, from last year, the corona, now to the end of the world, the beginning of everything. So
Mhm.
yeah,
And
it's
the
like
9 year you said from the 2012, and it's now to 2021, because this is,
yeah,
yeah, that was
exactly.
our new moon. So that's what's like saying that we're coming into our last full moon, our closure of that
Cycle.
cycle, and this year,
Yes,
the
yes. And it's full
2020,
moon in what? Full moon
and
in
Gemini.
Gemini. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. That's tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I know, closing off the year. Like, I don't know, as that has been strong, potent energies from all these portals. It's just kind of like, like you feel it, it's like things are
yeah.
changing and you
That's why you
just
just
don't
have
know
to get
what's
up there
coming.
and get that sun, soak up, do as much upgrading as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
they say don't go out, that means go out. Even if it's in your garden, look
Do
out
the
the window, open
opposite.
the window. Don't
Exactly.
just follow, open the window, get some sun, because
Get
there's a
some fresh
special,
air.
everybody says, nobody, I say, oh, it's something sun special. They're like, yeah. People are feeling it.
Yeah. So yeah, super potent. And now, like it says, like the more we unveil, the more keeps coming, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's just like 0 degrees, because you're aligning yourself to the powers that you're gifted with. We are nature, and we've been brought up in society saying, oh, the stars, that's for astronomers, it's too complicated, it's this. And so we thought, oh, we just have to look at the numbers or listen to what people tell us. But no, the stars are part of nature, like we're the bridge, just like the ground we walk on, just like the trees we hug, that's like the water we drink. The stars are a part of us too.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
stardust.
And
They're
that's that
a part
and
of us.
that's that disconnection, how this virus is so potent because we have become disconnected of nature. We are nature. We're not part of it. We are.
You know, we don't go into nature. We are nature. We reconnect
Yeah, you
to
don't
it
go out to
ourselves.
nature. It's like you are nature. You're made of minerals, your bones, you breathe air, you're
Mhm,
70 to 90% water, you're,
mhm.
everything, you're nature. And it's just kind of like, it has become so disconnected. That's why everything I post on Instagram is nature. It's like, go out there, explore the world. It's so like beautiful. Even the storms that could be so destructive are beautiful, you know what I mean? But they're destroying because they're creating something new. Something needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
It's like it's just the nature knows what to do, and we are the ones who are like putting those dams and their blockages.
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
that's why there's so much like illness and disconnect, and just the harmony in between
mm.
humans and the rest of the living beings is just disconnected. That's why you have all these native nations that live in such harmony and ceremony, sacred ceremony all the time, that are much more connected and much more in alignment with everything.
Mm,
So
mm,
yeah, that's the goal. That's the way of being living in sacred harmony and sacred ceremony, and just kind of like, yeah, like all this technology is up to us how to use it in a good way. Like Tesla
exactly.
did, it did
Yeah.
amazing discoveries for the goodness of the collective,
Mm,
but
mm, mm.
somebody wanted to make money out of it. And
Yeah, well, it's gonna come back. We're gonna take it back. I just wanted to close because I think we only have an hour on Instagram.
yeah.
I want to thank you for believing in me from the very beginning and for being a part, be the data taker and really making it possible to, verify, just a hunch of something connecting us to people like Carl Sagan, like connecting that, I can see that, but having that relationship with you, on a monthly basis, and, you really being, meticulous about keeping the dates even more so than me, and, telling me all the drops and everything, because it's it's a group effort, it really is a collective effort that is needed. And also want to mention that the calendar, the nature photos, it's so grounding. It's just bringing, it's amazing how the perception is, because most photographs, artwork and stuff, like art has this kind of, it's the non-earthiness, right?
Right.
This air kind of inspiration, but your pictures like really ground in the nature, the beauty of the earth. And I'm so grateful for your contribution with the calendar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be part of it. It was so exciting when you said, I'm like, yes, because me, I have journals and agendas for everything.
Connoisseur, the journals, the notebook connoisseur.
So I'm like, yes, I need one for my 0 degrees and have it, and just kind of, like you said, represent the elements and everything that is. But yeah, and like you say, even taking pictures with natures, I see with nature, I see things that others might not see it. I mean, like the one that we posted of the big rock El Capitan, there's a heart
I
carved in there,
know, I know.
and that's nature. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't make these things up, right? Nature's sending us the signs. It's up to us to see it and actually do something about it. So it's such a good collaboration, and I'm glad to be part of this amazing journey, and I hope others join, and just kind of if they feel called, guided to
yeah.
see their sky astrology and work with the earth, and like you said, like becoming the farmers and connecting to the stars where we come from.
Yeah, we are our own scientists, and, it's part of this shift as well, taking responsibility for that, because, we saw when we gave our power away, to people, oh, tell us where this is, tell us where that is. They can tell us anything, right? Well, when we
Right.
are active, now we know we can see clearly. That's, like Jilly says, they're like, about us seeing clearly all the things that we saw clearly this year. And then the 21 is the time to hold on to that energy and implement them, because you can't say you
Structure.
didn't
Yeah.
know, can't say
Yeah.
you didn't see it. You saw it, you know it, you experienced it. Now, what are we actively going to do it? We have the power, and the universe is with us. I always say, because the universe is showing us this.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Create the new structures that work for each of us individually, not somebody else's structure.
I know.
Like, yeah. So that's where
The
we
few,
going.
the few, the few. Okay,
Very good.
Teresa, I better go because I want to put it all on the Instagram live and
Awesome, awesome,
um,
great.
on YouTube too, if that's okay.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Get it
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Teresa, thank you so much and
Thank
talk to you
you.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Much
Teresa.
love. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.